Hey everybody, welcome. So we're going to finish up here with trailing 12 months right over here for our financial statement analysis. So let's go ahead and come over here. So when we're computing trailing 12 months, and we've kind of done this over here, and the one thing I've gone through and I've added is that in terms of the weighted average shares outstanding. So this is something you're going to want to add into the bottom of your sheet. I did not go through and do this. This is going to be basic. And this is going to be weighted average shares outstanding, fully diluted. So, and I'm also going to kind of highlight, I'll explain this a little bit more right over here. So, when we look at the price to earnings ratio, and let's go ahead and go to when I come over here to Target Corporation and I'm looking at their stock price. What you see here is for the PE ratio, this is trailing 12 months. EPS, this is trailing 12 months. So kind of something to kind of go ahead over here and look at. So right over here for Target, I'll go ahead and basically copy this. So when we see PE ratio and EPS, what exactly does that mean? Well, when I look at when I come over here to Target, what I will see over here is the weighted average common shares outstanding, basic and diluted, right? So these are the two numbers that I'm going to want to go through and put in. So as of May 4th, 2024, for those 3 months ended, this was the weighted shares outstanding. So as you can see over here, I've basically added these two numbers in here. This will become important momentarily. So the first thing I need to do is I need to figure out, well, what is my earnings per share, or what are my weighted average shares outstanding for both basic and fully diluted for the trailing 12 months. And for Target, this is going to be as of 8/3/24. Now, if you're doing this project and Walmart releases third quarter earnings, and you'll be going through and doing that on the most recent one, which they may actually be issuing those shortly. So you'll be using that for your trailing 12 months. So over here, we've got TTM as of 8/3/24. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to say basic, and I'm going to say fully diluted. So my weighted average shares outstanding, basic and fully diluted for the trailing 12 months. Well, I have kind of an issue over here. And what exactly is my issue? Well, I've gone through and I've basically I've pulled the basic from the financial statements. I pulled the fully diluted number from my financial statements. But when it comes to the 3 months ended 2/3/24, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and make my best estimate. I'm going to add up the beginning, or basically the months in between. I'm going to divide this by 2, and I'm going to get 461.9. Over here, I'm going to take the 463.9, which was for the 3 months ended 5/4/24, plus the 3 months ended 10/28/23, divide that by 2, and this is going to give me 463.25. At this point in time, what I now have is I have my basic and fully diluted weighted average shares outstanding. However, I need to come up with an average of these basically for the year ended. So to come up with an average for these, I'm going to basically take the sum right over here for basic. I'm going to do the sum right over here for fully diluted. I'm going to go ahead and divide these by 4 because I'm doing this over 4 quarters. So my weighted average shares outstanding for the full period is going to be 462.05 for basic and 463.3125 for fully diluted. So let's go ahead and put those into our results. Okay. So now that I have my basic and fully diluted trailing 12 months, basically this is what I'm going through and doing. I've got my basic, I've got my fully diluted earnings per share. Now I need to go through and figure out what was my earnings per share for the trailing 12 months ended 8/3/24. So my net income is going to be right over here at trailing 12 months ended 8/3/24. My net earnings were 4.4 billion. How did I get that? I'm adding up the 3 months ended 8/3/24, 3 months ended 5/4/24, 3 months ended 2/3/24, and then the 3 months ended 10/28/23. So right over here, I've got 4487. So my basic, when I take basic over here, so my weighted average shares outstanding basic, this is going to be 462 million shares. So these numbers are in the same denominations. So I'm getting basically an earnings per share for the trailing 12 months of roughly $9.71. When I do this on a fully diluted basis, I'm taking my net income and I'm going to divide this by my weighted average shares outstanding diluted. What's the difference between these two? Well, when we look at diluted earnings per share, in basic, we're just looking at the common shares that are actually outstanding. When we look at diluted earnings per share, that can include employee stock options that have not yet been exercised. They can include warrants. They can include convertible bonds or convertible debt that may be in the money. So over here, my fully diluted amount is going to be 4.63.31 or roughly $9.68. So I want you to be computing. First thing you have to go through and do is you got to find the average, weighted average shares outstanding. You're going to go through and do this by taking what's in the financial statements, taking these 4 numbers over here, dividing by 4. That's going to give you the weighted average shares outstanding. Next thing you're going to go do is you're going to compute the earnings per share for the trailing 12 months and at 8/3/24. Why is this so important? Because now what we're going to go through and do is compute the PE ratio. What exactly is the price to earnings ratio? It tells us in a way, is a stock over or undervalued relative to earnings? So the price to earnings ratio is going to be this basically the price per share, the market price per share divided by the earnings per share. Okay, so when I look at this over here, what I want to make sure that I go through and do is for target, the stock price per share is basically it's 152.13. We'll go ahead and use that amount. Okay. And my earnings per share, if I first go through and using basic, So this is my basic trailing 12 months earnings per share. This is my diluted trailing 12 months earnings per share. So when I come over here to 968, now when I go through and look at this in terms of a value, are these correct? And what I want you to kind of go through and do is you can kind of see over here, well, this is showing 15.72. So they appear to be using an earnings per share that's diluted, but their price to earnings ratio is 15.72. So we are coming close, right? So this number is coming close. Let's see if we put in the after hours closing price of 152.97 and see if that takes us to the right one instead of, nope, too much. So obviously we're close enough. We're off by a penny, but this is the importance of going through and using the trailing, basically using this for the trailing 12 months. So coming over here and going through and looking at your assignment, the part over here, which is essentially going through and answering this quiz, is to come over here. And if I hit the edit button, let's go ahead and take a look. So for this part of the assignment, you're going to compute the trailing 12 months for Walmart for the 12 months ended August 30th, 2024 and September 1st, 2023. Make sure you create a tab on your spreadsheet labeled TTM Walmart to show your computation, then provide a link to your spreadsheet, right? So this first part in terms of going through and doing this, which is worth 25 points, what I have trying to go through and do for you is in the modules along with this video right over here, is that if you go to this one, you'll basically find this will show you how to go through and do that part. For the second part, basically the price to earnings ratio is just what we've gone through and have done just now. So what you're going to want to go through and do is basically compute the earnings per share for the average earnings per share for the trailing 12 months. And then you're going to go through and compute the price to earnings ratio. What I want you to be going through and doing, however, is you're going to be going through and comparing it to essentially what is on the Yahoo Finance website that I've indicated for you to go through and use. So right over here, my goal is to see if we can get you as close to these numbers as possible. I know that my earnings per share looks good. This number is off by a penny. Who knows why? Maybe it's a rounding issue or something like that. But again, that's what I'm looking for you to kind of go through and do in the second part of the assignment. If your numbers are off, so again, show me how you computed it. How does it compare to what you see over here? Now, obviously, numbers will change, right? Because if they go through and they issue earnings in the next few days, and you'll be doing trailing 12 months for the most recent period of time. So there you go. In any event, thank you for being with me here today. I look forward to seeing you on the next video and have a great day.